Good evening. Call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Fogarty.
Yeah.
Councilman Lawson.
Yeah.
Council Vice President Rigo.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Souza.
Councilwoman Souza is ill. I spoke with her 20 minutes ago, and she is not going to be able to make it. She sends her regrets and a couple of comments for later, but it sounded pretty much under the weather, so she's excused ill today.
And President Rodrick.
Here. Records show that 4 members are present. 1 member is ill. Please rise for the pledge. Thank you. I'm going to move a couple of items up early on the agenda without objection, just out of professional courtesy. And then we will revert back to the regular agenda. We may or may not go into executive session at the proper time. We might hold that off till the end of the meeting, whatever council's pleasure is. So at this time, the first item I would like to move up is on, I believe it's on page 3 under council members, item number 1, which is a discussion led by Council Vice President Rigo on fire service in the city. Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. President. As it says here, Council voting and requesting a resolution for funding and implementation of a full-time fourth rescue. Since I took office, I placed this item on the docket probably around 9 times. For me, while I'm an elected official, this resolution is anything but political. It's a genuine need for the city. I firsthand have seen what it is to wait with a loved one, not once, not twice, to see a dying father would have to wait 30 minutes for a rescue to show up. The demand has consistently gone up since I took office. Adding a full-time fourth rescue not only benefits the residents of Rumford, but the entire city. It will cut down on mutual aid, and I move passage for a 4th full-time rescue. I won't get into any, I've done research and I've had numbers looked at, but I don't think the time is now to go into numbers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I know we were having a discussion, but I'm not sure if there was going to be a formal vote that if it's within our purview, but just a resolution to support. Right, but it doesn't mean one would be on the ground tomorrow.
Absolutely
Right.
not.
And I know we asked the mayor to make some comments.
Good evening, council members, council president, council vice president, Councilman Fogarty, and Councilman Lawson. I just want to go on the record after having numerous conversations with our fire department and with Councilman Rigo, that our administration also sees the need for additional rescue service. And we will work with the council and with our fire department to see what we can do to bring additional coverage for rescue service. I can tell you that conversations have begun with Acting Chief Carey to start a recruitment process in January for an additional 12 firefighters. Right now, we're, I think, 1 above minimum manning due to retirements and mostly retirements. So the battalion chief actually had a conversation with me just recently about wanting to run a 12-person academy. We plan on in January doing the application process, going through the whole motions. The council did fund through the last budget process funding to run the recruitment process. and we will absolutely come back to the council to get funding for the actual academy. With those 12 officers, I think that working with the union and the union president, we may be able to negotiate through collective bargaining the additional rescue coverage that we feel is necessary to protect our residents. So I just wanted to get on the record here with the councilman and the rest of the council and the public to let them know that we are committed to bringing additional rescue service through the collective bargaining process and through the funding that would be required at the council level.
Okay, Councilman, is that a motion?
That
Thank
is
you,
a
Mayor.
motion. Thank you. Well, first
Thank
I
you.
wanted to thank the mayor.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And willing to sit down. I've already got some of the numbers crunched. I know you're not surprised to hear that, but thank you for your support.
So we do have a motion by Councilman Rigo. I think it was seconded by Councilman Lawson. And so just so everyone's clear, this is going to be a good working relationship to try to get this done. And the resolution is asking that we get this done as soon as we can. Through the right steps, it does not mean that people will see a rescue on the streets this weekend, but this will start the formal process. So could you please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Fogarty, Councilman Lawson,
Aye, and I thank Councilman Rigo and the mayor for sitting down and working together. And I'm glad that we're moving forward. Thank you.
Council Vice President Rigo,
Aye.
President Rodrick.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next item I'd like to move up on the agenda is on page 4, number 1, under public hearing. And that is the continuation, actually, this is not the public hearing. This is the allocation of the $3 million that we had.
No, we're gonna, let's do.
Which one do we going to do first? I have it
We're going
backwards here.
to do the,
The resolution. Yeah, page 7, number 6.
yes. Yeah.
I had them reversed. Sorry. about-
First, then we can do the
Right.
3 and then the other.
Yeah, I had it reversed, so I'm sorry about that. Page 7, number 6, the engineering proposal resolution for the community center, and we do have Mr. Andrade here, who is the
We can let them sit.
engineer, so he can. Sure, no, he's here if we need it. So I will defer to Councilman Lawson at this time.
Okay, so we've been talking about getting a rec center for townies for decades. And I think we're finally at the place where we can say that we are going to build a rec center. Council President Rodrick and I met last week with representatives of the administration from Stock Architects and from Peregrine. And it was a good conversation. We were able to really discuss things. Council President and I were able to let folks know that we're looking for the rec center part, and we went over all the parts of it. So what I'd like to do is give a brief overview of this project. And then the process is, if we vote in the affirmative here, we are all in on building a rec center. So what is before us now is we're going to engage with Stock Architects. If you look through the package I had the city clerk come up to you for, we're looking at roughly 10,000 square feet of a full court gym. There'll be the Workforce Training Learning Center, which is a requirement of the grant. So we do need to make sure we are complying with that. And then there'll be the circulation supports places. So we had a good conversation. The pool, even though we decided that we would be in favor, financially, we're just not there. So it was decided at this time to not go with the full mechanical drawings of the pool, but we do have the option of getting a, why am I blanking on the term, buddy? A schematic drawing of the pool to kind of give us guidance in the future, like the placement stuff. It will not be a building document, It's not a document we can hand to contractors and say, go build, but it will give us a guide for the future if we do decide to build an aquatic center. So this contract will be in the amount of 900 and, oh, sorry, I should have had this in front of me. 900, what page? Page 4. And I apologize, folks, I should have had this. $986,780. That gets us through the program and conceptual phase, the schematic design, the design development, the construction documents, bidding assistance, and construction contract administration. So stock is, after tonight, we'll get to work and start getting the blueprints basically going. And in this package I gave you lays out the various things that we're looking to do. And the schematic, if we decide to go with it, and we can vote on that tonight so they have a clear answer, $38,780 on top of the $986. We had a good conversation, and we want to be very clear. This project, they told us, would be about $12.4 million. I made the personal request that we call it a $13 million project because we know there's going to be overages. We had already, as a council, committed to 10 million. 10.3 gets the building built. The other 2 million, or to a little over 2, is the soft cost that gets incurred, hiring the various experts for the things we need done, the furniture, equipment for the gym room and all that. So 10.3 is the building. And on top of that is another 2, I'm going to call it 2.7 because we all know that there's going to be overages throughout the course of this. And so all in, we can get a rec center built for the townies for about $13 million. We have $7 million that the administration received through grant funding. We are going to finish allocating 3 more over. So we are sitting at 10 million. The rest is we do have some ARPA projects that once we get through those, there may be some leftover that can go towards that. We can continue to apply for some grants to fill in the rest of that 2.7. I'm calling it 2.7, but it's more like 2.21. So we will not be borrowing money. We will not be affecting the tax levy. I also want to talk about, for the people watching, people have been asking, how is this going to operate? We already have staff on the payroll. We have Becky Chase, who is awesome. She's our rec center director. She just doesn't have a full rec center. And Diane Sullivan. In the wintertime, Tracy from the carousel. And historically, we always hired like teenagers, after school jobs to kind of sit at the counter, help with programming. The only maybe additional cost is obviously utilities and custodial services. I have zero problem adding a custodial job onto the payroll for either this building or somebody who floats between a couple buildings. So I do not feel the operation cost of this building is going to be onerous. It's not going to affect taxes in a crazy way, other than we may have to hire a custodian. Let's be open and honest about things. The police will not be part of this. There was talk before of it being like a police training, but that's not going to be part of this project. So basically, we're going to build a building across from the high school, and it is going to be a full court gym, and it's going to have classroom space for rec programming, for workforce development, for after school learning, and a fitness area. This will also meet the needs of the grant that is about, we got to have health. COVID kind of kicked us all in the teeth. So this is a good way to be prepared for, God forbid, another emergency where we can easily ramp up a vaccination clinic without having to go see if we can rent some space. I had made a commitment that I'm all in on this project. I think we got through all the negotiating and, everything. To me now, I'm ready to move forward. So I will make a motion that we approve this resolution to engage Stark. And I will, well, Council President, if I'm all willing to have a nice conversation.
Sure. Before I entertain the motion, is there other discussion on this? I would add that my support has already been mentioned for this. This proposal, as Councilman Lawson said, was born of some good negotiations. It essentially is in line with what I had recommended a couple of meetings ago, that by eliminating the pool, and I had hoped to put a little more ARPA money into it, but it is what it is. We can live with this. And at the cost of zero tax dollars from the budget, we can get this project up and running and done. Now, when I say zero tax dollars, it always raises eyebrows because people who are sticklers for detail say, look, everything is a tax dollar. I know that. I mean, every penny in this country is a tax dollar. But basically, it is not affecting our budget. We are not going out to bond. We're not paying interest. We're not tapping any other fees. We're taking these one-time grants that are being made available, some ARPA funding, along with we already have some sufficient local staff. So it's do or die tonight. We've got to get this done or it's just going to be too late. And I think this is a good proposal going forward. And I would say, Councilwoman Souza, although this is not a proxy vote, but in speaking to her tonight, and we actually had to cut the conversation short because she was feeling so ill, but she said she would like it to be made known that she's in support of a community center and would like to stay involved with the future steps as we go along. So with that, other comments? Councilman Vice President.
I have a question for David. Excuse me. No, sit down.
Well, he has to.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That's right. I was just trying to.
Just for the record, thank you.
Keep your distance.
Keep your distance. I was trying to keep you away from Mike, but thank you for your time and thank you for coming here under the circumstances that you're not feeling well. How many contractors do you think will bid on this type of job?
Project like this in the current climate where we've seen things. We just finished a bid for a project in the city of Pawtucket, and that one brought in, I believe, 5 bidders. So it should be a varied pool.
So with like you said, with the climate going on here, keep our fingers crossed. Maybe this will come in. Somebody's looking to do work, so maybe this may come in even lower than what we anticipate. Keep our fingers crossed. That could be a possibility.
One of the comments that we had when we were having the discussion 2 weeks ago is that when we work the schedule backwards from where the grant commitment dates and deadlines are, it actually fell perfectly in line with having bids in place sometime around the winter time when contractors are gearing up for the next construction season.
Thank you.
David, if all goes well through the whole process, when is the first time that Councilman Rigo will be able to stuff a basketball? You don't have to answer that.
Okay.
But seriously, it's going to take,
This will take some time. The deadline for construction to be complete, I believe, is October of 2026. And we use that and worked our way backwards. And as you can see in the proposal, there is an anticipated design and construction timeline of 10 to 12 months for design, bidding and permitting another 2 months, and then construction another 14 to 16 months. So this will be unfortunately, it's just how it is with these projects, a long-term project.
You do have the yoga room in now for Council President Rodrick's. He's a master at the yoga the yoga mat.
He's gonna have to buy his own outfit.
And David, and to keep these guys prepared, I believe we said June would probably be the next council vote that would be needed.
Don't hold me to the date, but I think that
Roughly.
that would be the next presentation.
Right.
Before the council.
Yeah. And so I should have added, there will be some votes along the way that we'll need to take for various reasons, but committing tonight, those votes are just going to kind of be formality type things that we just have to do. And I think around June-ish will be the next one. Okay.
Okay, any other comments?
Can I,
That's a motion,
well,
but
let me add this. So if we want to add the schematic for the aquatic center tonight, for 38,000, we're going to get prepared schematic, architectural and engineering narratives. Be very clear, these are not building documents. Outlining the requirements and stuff. Preparation of a site plan, locating a phase 2 aquatic center addition, and third-party phase 2 schematic design cost. So if there's a desire, I know Councilman Rigo, you still want the aquatic center and stuff. For 38, we can get that process going and then keep looking for more money. So my motion is going to be to include the aquatic center schematic along with the 986,000. So that would bring us.
986, 780.
All right, who's good at math? What would be the total?
I have a calculator.
986, 780. Okay, so I don't have to say, okay. So I'm going to make a motion that we accept this proposal to include the schematic design of the aquatic center.
So motion by Councilman Lawson to pass the resolution as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Council Vice President Rigo. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Fogarty,
Nay.
Councilman Lawson,
Aye.
Council Vice President Rigo,
Aye.
President Rodrick.
Aye. Motion passes 3-1.
So we are
Thank you.
getting a rec center.
So since 2002 or so, we finally get some movement here.
Okay.
Actually, before that,
So next
item.
with the permission of the council, if we could move up, there is the second passage of allocating the 3 million over to the rec center project. I believe it's a public hearing, Council President.
Yes,
Um,
be on page 4
and
on the
if you,
public hearing.
if you all don't mind, if we can bundle that one, and then a quick discussion on a makeup of a building committee. And then that will do it for the rec center tonight.
This is an item that we have discussed. And Mr. Slitzer, this is basically the final passage, right? We have had one passage at the last meeting, so. Right.
So this is taking the 5 million that we had allocated for infrastructure. Last week, we voted to take 3 of that 5 and move it over towards the rec center.
Correct. And
So that's where we're at.
and that left of that 5 is still the 2 million.
There's still 2 that's earmarked for infrastructure to include roads, water, sewer.
Right. And as you've said, as all of the ARPA projects get developed, there may be, all of them said up to.
Yeah, yeah.
So we weren't hopefully spending every penny. So before the council votes for second passage or discusses it, I will open it up to the public hearing. If anyone is here and wishes to speak on this, please come forward and identify yourself, although you don't have to identify yourself, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the council. I just want to express my extreme gratitude to the council members' support of this community center. I think it's a project that all of us will be proud of when it's complete. And I look forward to continued collaboration with members of the council so that we get this project done right for our residents. And once again, thank you for passing that resolution. And I hope that we can get the final vote on this funding allocation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Working together is the only way we're going to get anything done. Anyone else here during the public hearing session wishes to speak for or against this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn it back to the council for final.
I'll make a motion that we approve this ordinance for second passage.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lawson to approve second and final passage, seconded by Council Vice President Rego. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Fogarty,
Nay.
Councilman Lawson,
Aye.
Council Vice President Rego,
Aye.
President Rodrick.
Aye. Motion passes 3-1. Thank you.
So
So at this point, we would revert back to the regular agenda. I would ask the council if you want to hold off executive session till the end. I think that's best.
Yeah.
And Madam Clerk, if you could just pick up from
Page 2, non-public hearing.
where we left off. Yes.
Or the consent calendar, I apologize.
We go right to we go right to page 2, the consent calendar.
So, Madam Clerk, I believe we will now revert back to page 2. There are no proclamations and presentations tonight. Although under proclamations and presentations, we don't have anything formal, but I would like to commend in a verbal proclamation the members of the East Providence Police Department, the members of fire service rescue who also responded, and members of our dispatch staff in the city. By now, we're all familiar with the high-speed chase that went from one end of the city to the other, basically, in which very ominous situation occurred, and much more was averted, evidently. You all know about the cache of arms and serious weapons and ammunition that were recovered. And as the police chief said, it was not the policy of the East Providence Police to conduct high-speed chases, but in this case, they didn't know where this person was going next. A house was shot at, or a car was shot at, high-speed escape ensued, riding by our large middle school, the center of the city, a couple of elementary schools. This person had to be stopped. The East Providence Police did the best they could and stopped him and arrested this person, over 100 charges. In the news of the day, this person was arrested again by the town of Coventry. So evidently he may have been released. I guess certain laws, if you make bail, you get released. And on very similar charges, he was arrested again, the town of Coventry, weapons charges. So that remains to be seen where that is going. But just imagine if our police had not stopped this person. Where was he going with an arsenal in his car? The very next day, right here at City Hall, we had hundreds of people celebrating a holiday and a tree lighting. And who knows what could have happened. So I'm sure that the whole council joins with me in congratulating the police. I know some out there will say they did their job, but they certainly went above and beyond and made the right decision. And we all want to thank them for that.
I totally agree with you. And on top of that, it was an extremely busy week for them because it's on that Sunday, there was the little manhunt in the Rumford section up on Howell Ridge Road and finally finding the person in a garage on Linden Avenue. Not around here or anything like that. But you know what? It can happen anywhere. We were fencing that I had some faces made at me. But we did it, and hats off to the East Providence Police Department and the Fire Department for assisting the unfortunate victims in those cars that got hit by that person.
Can I,
Councilman.
just a little thing for the East Providence Police Department. They do stuff a truck around Christmas time where they seek donations to help out families have a good Christmas. So this Saturday, December 9th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Target over in Seacon, Commerce Way, They have it, they call it the EPPD stuffer truck. So basically, if you would like to buy a gift, doesn't say if it should be wrapped or not, but and bring it over to them, I'm sure it'd be greatly appreciated. And thank you to the EPPD for all they do for this community.
Thank you, Councilman. Madam Clerk, can you continue, please?
Under the consent calendar, we have the council journals for November 9th, 2023, regular meeting minutes, November 14th, 2023, regular meeting minutes, and tax abatements for the year 2023 in the amount of $23,064.48.
Is there a motion to approve?
So
Motion-
moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Council Vice President Rego. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, 3-0. Please continue. Thank you.
We have one license this evening for Sundays and holidays for Union Square Bistro on 332 Bullocks Point Avenue.
So just gives you guys a little background. There's a little revitalization going on in Riverside Square, and one building was renovated. On the bottom floor was Union Burrito and then Union Bar. The owner of the property, I believe, is selling the business portion. And these new owners, Monique Oliveira, will be Union's.
For applying for a new liquor license, it'll be on the docket on the 19th.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
non-transferable. They have to.
Right. Okay. So we'll be seeing that. So basically, it's just a little revamping of the business from, I guess, burritos to a bistro. So
And we would like to keep that progress going. Riverside Square. Is that a motion to approve?
yes, I'll make a motion to approve at this time.
Seconded by Councilman Fogarty. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next item.
Yep. Public comment. The first up is Josh Berlinski speaking on the Meta comment resolution.
Well, before we go, I'm going to table that motion. I'm going to table that resolution at this time without Councilwoman Souza here.
Okay, but I'll give you the option.
Well,
It may not be a vote, but
he represents Marshall. So do you want to hear from him?
I'm tabling the resolution.
Okay.
So
it's public comment, so I'm not going to stop anyone if you'd like to.
I'll be very
Go ahead,
brief.
just identify yourself and address and name.
My name is Josh Berlinski. I'm an attorney with the firm of Darrow Everett at 1 Turk's Head Place, Suite 1200, Providence, Rhode Island, 02903. The purpose of my appearance here this evening was simply to let the council know that Marshall is obviously aware of the issue. It has been in the public eye for a number of months. They are working on an application to be submitted to Waterfront, as everybody knows. And I just wanted Councilman Rego and the members of the council to know that Marshall has engaged a consultant for purposes of conducting an archaeological assessment. And that assessment is supposed to be submitted with the application to Waterfront. And I was going to respectfully request that the council table the resolution until we had the opportunity to discuss with the council the findings of that assessment. So with your permission, Council President Rodrigues and Vice President Rego, next month, we would just appreciate the opportunity to let you know what the recommendations are. And if the council still feels that the resolution is called for, by all means proceed. And if the council's opinion is that the matter is being addressed, we just ask that it go forward. But I wanted to let the council know that we are taking heed of the issue. It is on our radar and has been for some time.
Oh, thank you.
see you in January.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to keep the communication going, and that's acceptable.
Thank you so much for the time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
That's okay with Council Vice President? Okay, good. Next item, please. I'm sorry, is there anyone else? I'm sorry, next.
We have Jacqueline Knott.
Hi, just come forward and identify yourself for the record, name and address.
Good evening. I'm Jacqueline Knott. I'm a new member of the community. I'm a resident of 65 Belmont Avenue, East Providence, Rhode Island, 02914.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So the purpose of me being here today is to get my peddler's license so that I can have the opportunity to promote and serve in this community for my online business. It is to promote healthcare and wellness for women.
Have you talked to this clerk yet?
Yes.
So is there a license application in, or,
Yes, I did apply online.
'cause this isn't done usually under communications, you would submit something to the clerk's office and then
Right.
it would come in with licenses and we would,
I
Hold
did
on.
submit it online, and then I was told
so
to.
it's probably in progress, I guess.
Yes, it's in progress, but I was told to show up here today as well.
You don't really have to, until, I'm sure the office in City Hall, the clerk's office is it, will get in
Joe,
touch.
can you look into that to see? Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably be the next meeting, I'm sure, if it's already in progress.
Okay, perfect.
We meet twice a month, so there'll be a meeting in 2 weeks.
But while you're up here, if you want to give the quick description of your business as you started.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be selling products online. It's gonna be for wellness and beauty products for women. But I'm promoting self-care and mental health awareness.
Nice. Nice.
Good. Well, welcome to East Providence, and I will see you most likely in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Good night.
If you don't hear anything, call the city clerk's office.
The name of the online business is gonna be Eve Redeemed. I'm gonna be primarily online, but also looking for opportunities to vend within East Providence.
Very nice.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Next speaker.
Nancy Hale speaking on KMG.
Nancy, your turn. You don't look happy.
Confused, I know. I signed up. Now I'm confused because it seems like the developer is going to do the archaeological study. But this is what's confusing. At a prior meeting, I can't remember which one, but I know that a KMG representative was wondering if we should have an independent archaeological study. Does anyone else remember that?
No, I think you're referring to a traffic study. They were talking about independent
Oh, maybe.
traffic studies on another issue.
All right.
But this would have to conform with Rhode Island state law, which requires builders,
To do the archaeological study.
or to at least assess the situation first. And in any event, should any builder find anything, they have to stop all work.
So does the city or the state have any? I guess I would be interested in what are the requirements of the development company? Like, what do they have to dig 3 times? Or like, I mean, if this was a burial site and Indians lived there, how do we, I mean, maybe the representative from the developer.
I think, well,
Address
that's an
that?
answer, right now, instead of him, that's an answer.
Okay,
The
question.
question is
for us.
solicitor for a legal
From
standpoint.
best I can tell, so the first step is to do an assessment whether or not that the property is an archaeologically significant site to begin with, right? We don't know right
We
now.
think so.
They think so, we think so,
Probably.
but we don't know. So they'll do the assessment, I guess, they'll look at the historical records, they might do some test holes, I don't know. And then if the assessment comes back that, yes, it is historically, that triggers a whole nother review and they would have to do the archaeological, but if it comes back, it's not, the assessment shows that it's not an archaeologically viable site or significant site, then obviously then they won't have to do it. So I think that's the first step, is to do the assessment to see if that entire property, which obviously most of it is a golf course.
Do you know what is required?
I do not.
To be considered an archaeological?
No, there are regulations by the, I'm
significant
sorry, I do not know the specific regulations that would require that, but
place?
the
Where would we find those out?
Rhode Island Historic Society.
Okay.
And CRMC also has regulations. You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, that's it for public comment.
Completes the public comment. Thank you. Next item.
Appointment of William McMahon to the City Council Veteran Advisory Committee, sponsor Councilman Lawson.
Councilman Lawson.
We have 5 veterans who serve on this, and 2 of them had to back off for personal reasons, which are their personal reasons we're not going to talk about. So I would like to appoint William McMahon to the City Council Veteran Advisory Committee to fill the spot of the Ward 4 council rep.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
There's a second.
Second.
Councilman Lawson moves and Councilman Rigo seconds the appointment of William McMahon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have that. 4-0. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Next,
Discussion with administration on next steps for the following ARPA funded projects. Discuss sponsored by Councilman Lawson and Council President Roderick.
So this is just a conversation starter because part of the meeting we had last Tuesday when we were discussing how to fund the extra 2 to 3 million for the rec center. These ARPA projects, like the council president said, are written that we allocate money up to. So there is a possibility the clam shack may not cost as much. The business incubator, I still got to work with the mayor to see where he's at with that. The splash pad, we already got the money for, but out of respect, I sponsored the resolution to see if grant money could come. Infrastructure needs, we're probably going to give you guys a heads up, beginning of the year, to have a nice, robust conversation of where we're at, what we can do going. We understand there's no major project that $2 million is going to take care of, but if there's some low-hanging fruit regarding infrastructure, some of the flooding, we just like to have that conversation. And if there are no projects, we'll discuss what to do with that money. But and the placemaking initiatives also. I did not put on the Pierce Field only because I know we're moving some of that money over to the parking lot, but that's still another one. So I just wanted to put the bug in. The administration's there. I am more than willing to help work on these. If you need an extra body, I know you guys often say how busy things are, but if you need help with research, whatever, I'm all in. Because the sooner we could get through these, the sooner we could see how much money may be left over. And I should have put to the police station renovation. So we got 2.5 million for the police station renovation, which from what I understand, they're here, but the mayor asked that I hold off bringing it to the council until they can put together their presentation. So tonight, I just wanted to mention these projects, and the sooner we can get some kind of disposition on them, the sooner we can see if there's any money that could be allocated else. And that's that.
yep, very good. And I think the conversations are ongoing and are healthy. We're talking about getting, for instance, the clam shack, but really it's concession building, whatever. I don't want people to think, you can buy a clams. It's Clam Alley.
I call it clam shack because that's the historical.
Right.
We could call it a Shaw Dinner Hall.
Yeah, sure. Dinner hall would be good. So, yeah, these are all good topics. We'll continue to.
Yep.
Anybody want to add anything on these? If not, next item, please. Thank you, Councilman.
Discussion with administration on status of Kent Heights Playground project to include funding, final design, and where the project currently stands. Discuss Councilman Lawson, Council President Roderick.
So again, we're not looking for answers tonight, but we know this has been delayed and chances are there's going to require additional funding for supplies and stuff. And Dan, you're more than welcome, buddy. More than welcome to come up. And again, Dan, this was just to get it out there, get us mentally prepared that the project may need a little bit more.
Yeah, so we did go out to bid. We received, I believe, 4 bids.
Okay.
The low bid came in at just under $1.43 million. We have $200,000 in capital already allocated and $400,000 awarded by Rhode Island DEM through one of their grant programs. So in order to complete this project, we'd need to allocate another $800,000 to, award the contract to the low bidder.
Dan, does that project include the special needs playground that now was put at Kent Heights, or is that special needs playground separate from what you're telling us tonight?
The cost of the playground is not included in the 1.43. The reason for that is because we would purchase that as an as a separate state contracted price, which would get significantly less than the markup the contractor would install it for. So we'll purchase the equipment, but there is cost in this contract to account for the installation.
And the design shows the location where the special needs was.
Yeah, there's
this has been ongoing. This was before we came on the council.
Was that the final decision? We're putting the special needs at 10?
There's an ADA compliant playground component. I can't speak to the exact specifications of that piece of equipment, but the bid and all the documents are on the city website, so we can certainly.
There's room at Kent Heights. I mean, we inherited this project from the prior council. This has been going on for a while. So
Right, and what I'm saying is there is an ADA playground component
that's
part of this
in
project.
there. Okay.
Yes.
Dan, the extra 800K, does that include playground equipment?
No, the playground equipment would be in addition to that.
So all right. Can you email us a breakdown of what 1.43, what we're getting?
I can send you the bid tabulation. It's on the city's website,
Okay.
the RFP page.
Okay, so that 800K, if we move the 500 from the adaptive, that wouldn't do anything.
We're not going to touch.
Well,
we're not touching that special needs money for anything but special needs.
Right. So what I would
It's going to
suggest,
be an 88.
what I would suggest, if it's, we could use a portion of the 500,000 to pay for the ADA component of the playground.
Correct.
Yeah,
But
the
it's
ADA,
not 800,000 of that money, right? The 800,000 is in a, there are additional,
Right.
expenses associated with that.
Okay.
However you want to break out the bid to get to the 800, But yeah, that would be my, my thought is to utilize the playground money to pay for the playground equipment, and there'll still be a significant amount in that of that 500 left to place additional equipment throughout the city.
While you're up there, Dan.
Sure.
I just want to thank you for all the work you've done on the
Appreciate
streets. Okay. Continued support from me. Appreciate that.
Anytime.
And a question on Kent Heights. Is there time or is there room? Are you contemplating any amending to maybe cut out some of it? I can think of, I don't know if I want to mention it tonight. There's one item that I'm thinking maybe we could do without. I don't know if it would save money, but
The project was bid in a way that we could cut portions out. And we would just have to determine, I guess, how we would cut it out. If we cut 800,000 out, I don't think we'd really have we wouldn't have significant improvements to the park, unfortunately. There are,
or maybe at some point when you get a better handle, another community meeting at that
I can certainly share the bid
over
tabulation.
library, Councilman.
We still got a baseball field as part of that design currently?
The baseball
Yes.
field remains.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
You can stay
Can I
up.
stay here?
Yeah, you might
Might
as
as
well.
well. So,
Want to read the next item?
oh yeah, Madam Clerk, you can read the next item.
Discussion of process for engineering study per plan for East Providence infrastructure needs discussed. Council Vice President Rego.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. President, Dan, on the 14th of November's meeting, you repeatedly said the city needs an infrastructure plan before we can do any work. So I'm just thinking here as a council, should we pass an ordinance resolution looking for a sewer drainage infrastructure engineering plan? I mean,
You certainly can. I'm actively working on it now. You mentioned that I said that I had a plan. I do have a plan.
yeah.
And I have 3 components of that plan that I can discuss in a little bit of detail now with the council.
Thank you.
Excuse me. The first being, the first step in kind of all of this is we've obviously already gone out to bid for cleaning and TVing of our storm sewers. We've identified problem areas and determined issues in some flooded areas. We've determined that there aren't significant pipe defects. So what we've defaulted to is that these are capacity issues. The pipes are undersized and cannot handle the rain that we've obviously been experiencing, which is, above average for, communities around the country. So the first step in really all of this, in my personal opinion, would be to develop a more robust GIS system, which we currently do not have. Our GIS system is very old and archaic. It's still being supported by our GIS consultant, and it's all of our information is actually stored locally on their servers in their Boston headquarters. They have been bugging the city for many years to do away with that because it's a lot of liability. It's really not a great way to store our data. And there are a lot of more robust and developed programs out there now for GIS systems. If you look at, the city of Providence and other cities throughout the state, they have developed really good programs that give DPW engineering a lot more flexibility in tracking where our infrastructure is underground. So in order to get to steps 2 and 3, which are hydraulic analyses of the drainage and sewer systems, it's imperative that we update our GIS system, bring everything to the cloud, and start being able to track things remotely from cell phones and iPads in the field. So I've been actively working on that. I should have a proposal to the council by the next council meeting. I had a final meeting today with the consultant to kind of finish the proposal, and we should be bringing that to the council for approval. And hopefully we can utilize the infrastructure money to start that process. In the meantime, I'm also working on developing a scope of work to go out to RFQ for a hydraulic analysis of the entire city. So the first step is obviously getting the GIS updated. And once that's updated, we'll be able to utilize the new GIS system to locate and confirm that all of our storm sewer is actually mapped. So as part of the scope of those services for the hydraulic analysis, we'll have the consultant, whoever we choose, through the process, will help us locate and confirm that everything is updated in our GIS, and then we can run a computerized model. Knowing a lot of the problem areas, that's also helpful, right? So we can identify those problem areas and then really pinpoint and look at the model, from there on out and come up with a, informed strategic capital plan where we can invest our money, over X number of years to start to fix these problems. And more importantly, look at the city as a whole and look at resiliency, right? These storms are only getting worse. They're getting more severe. So there are going to be more, more significant issues throughout the city that we will start experiencing, not even just in the problem areas we do now. So that's all part of that plan. That'll hopefully go out to RFQ during the winter months, and we can start the process of selecting an engineer and awarding a contract, by hopefully early spring. And then the third would be a very similar study to number 2, which for the stormwater. However, we would do similar for the sewer system, and develop an SSES program, a sanitary sewer evaluation survey. So this would be very similar. We do what we call flow monitoring. So we would stick flow meters throughout the city and start to track where the city is experiencing high inflow and infiltration. So during heavy rain events, you have a lot of groundwater that enters the sewer system and overwhelms the treatment facility. So working on a SSES program, which we would also go out to RFQ, we can start to develop a more responsible capital plan that we can then utilize our enterprise funds to, develop a long-term 10-year capital plan. So that's kind of my
Nice.
long, short narrative, however you want to.
So Dan, I don't get calls. I don't see onerous flooding in Riverside area. I know Ward 3, we talked about Dewey Ave, Ferret. What are our pain points?
That's Ward 1 for the record. Dewey and Ferris Ave.
What are the pain points that off the top of your head between Dewey? Is there 4 or 5 that we're really concerned? Is there 10? Is there? I'm just trying to get to the point.
Probably half a dozen to a dozen problem areas throughout the city.
Okay.
Particularly Dewey Avenue and portions of, that North Broadway area. There are a few throughout the city. And those will all get looked at, more granularly.
Okay.
Once we have the ability to model all this.
So there's about 12 pain points that we really got to address. There may be more, but
Yeah, don't quote me on it, but
I get you.
I could get you a list of them. They
No,
were
no,
all
no.
part of the they're all part of the original scope of services to do the TVing.
I just want to be able to tell people that the whole city's not flooding.
No.
You know, there are some places we absolutely are going to address.
There have been
Not
historic
like Noah's pulling up.
there
So
have been historic issues, you know, Dewey Avenue, for example, that's been a problem for a very long time. But there are also areas in the city that, you know, our problems have been flooding, and they're simple solutions that, you know, people were just throwing yard waste at the end of a dead end road, and it wasn't allowing the water to, you know,
Right.
flow into a nearby stream. So those are things that, you know, DPW looks at from a maintenance standpoint. Now we know that, okay, this certain street floods, but we have the ability to actually address
Gotcha.
it and fix it.
perfect. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Director.
Sam.
Next item.
Creating a building committee for the proposed community recreation center. Membership in charge of committee. Discuss and vote Councilman Lawson and Council President Rodrick.
So Councilman Lawson has asked to have this on the agenda, and this is a good idea. And I just want to preface it by saying, I think what we need to do, probably the word shouldn't be creating, it should be clarifying, because we do have a building committee.
Yeah, whatever word you want to use.
So if you want to continue and talk about.
Yep. This was only, this is actually mainly for council members. Part of the meeting, we discussed having council presence at these building committee meetings. We can have two of us at the same time without violating any OMA. I think it's very prudent that Diane Sullivan and Becky Chase be part of this group. But if we also, it probably would make a lot of sense if we're consistent. So we may want to identify two of us that have the ability to attend these meetings regularly. So we're not always playing catch up. And we don't have to do that tonight, but maybe next meeting we'll discuss which two of us we'd like to put on. I will defer to any one of you that want to be on it, but if your schedules don't align, I'd be more than welcome. I'm more than happy to step in and do it.
And for anyone who's not sure what we're talking about when we say a building committee, whenever there is a bond issue, for instance, I've been a member of the building committees for the school bond issues. And this is not a bonding, but it is a public process with public funds. So the building committee is usually consists of all of the regular players involved. For instance, in this case, we would have DPW, we'd have finance people, we'd have the architects, engineers, the builders, whoever get the contract, they're all there. And then it should be two of us, definitely the director of the recreation department and the recreation center. And the purpose is, and it was a member of Gilbane who was not involved with the high school had told me that the reason our high school was built so well, so quickly, on time, was because the building committee, that it met regularly and little problems would crop up and the building committee would discuss it. Also, some changes may be made along the way. Somebody on the committee might say, the outside facade of the building has a pinkish look. I'd like it to be more red or whatever. Things like that. You don't change the structure, but decisions are made. So it's important that we have that. So what between now and the next, yeah. Sure.
We'll take one of the two spots.
Sure. So I'll wait and see if either Councilman Lawson or Fogarty or Councilwoman Souza thinks they have the time. Sure. We'll pick someone else. Yep, we'll pick someone else for the next meeting.
You're there every meeting.
Yeah, pretty much in the beginning anyway. Now at the end of the process, when it's almost done. But Director of Administration, you want to add to this?
Council President, I don't, you're aware, we've had a working group going on for quite some time. We've admitted or invited members of the council to attend.
Yes.
I think having specifically people assigned to it is a great idea.
Great. So we at least have Council Vice President Rigo, and between now and when the process gets going, we have plenty of time. We'll select.
I was
another
at the
member.
one in July. I have never been notified since then. So, but I'd be more than happy if you notify me. I'll be at the meeting. Thank you, sir.
You got it. All right. Anything else, Councilman Lawson, on that? Pretty much covers it. Okay. Thank you. Next item.
Discussion on hiring independent legal service for support with proposed zoning changes and audit. Discuss and vote. Councilwoman Sousa.
I think I think we should table this for.
Yes.
Out of respect to analyst table.
Yes. So it was our intention to table that till the next meeting. Go ahead. Next item.
An ordinance and amendment of Chapter 18 of the revised ordinances of the City of East Providence, Rhode Island, 1998, as amended, entitled Vehicles and Traffic. Summary Section 18-307, no parking on Warren Avenue, the north side, from Purchase Street east 60 feet. Sponsor, Councilwoman Sousa.
Councilwoman did ask that we proceed with this tonight because constituents have been waiting for this. So
I move motion to accept.
This is a public hearing.
Yes.
These next two items.
Yep. So we can have a motion in a second, and I'll open it up.
And I'll
Second by Councilman Lawson. Motion by Councilman Rigo to approve. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on the matter? I'll ask one more time. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none,
It's all city stuff.
close the public hearing. No other comments on the council? Madam Clerk, please call a roll.
Councilman Fogarty.
Aye.
Councilman Lawson.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rigo.
Aye.
President Rodrick.
Aye. Matter passes 4-0.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of East Providence repealing ordinance Chapter 897 and reallocating and reappropriating up to $447,870 for the Potter Street and Burgess Street parking lot. Sponsor, Councilwoman Sousa.
Again, the councilwoman's not here, but I do think
This is second passage, right?
yeah, this was something that she had
So
started, and like
little background.
Yes, go ahead.
We're
Councilman.
talking if you go down to Watchmucket Square where the Comedy Connection is, where the on-ramp to 195 West is, you're talking about the parcel to the right of it
For parking.
for a parking lot, which will give us some much needed off-street parking in the Watchmucket Square area, which we have designated an arts and entertainment district. So this is a plus. This is a good thing. And
I'll make a motion to pass.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Councilman Fogarty.
Seconded.
Passage. Councilman Lawson, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, one.
Public.
Don't see anyone in the room, but it is a public hearing. Any comments?
Do we need a roll call vote since this is appropriation? Should we do a roll, Mike?
Any other
Yeah, we got to do.
Any other comments? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Have the motion in second. Madam Clerk, please call a roll.
Councilman Fogarty. Councilman Lawson.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rigo.
Aye.
President Rodrick.
Aye. Second passage is approved 4-0. Thank you.
Continued business, discussion and overview of required changes to the East Providence zoning code as required by recent amendments to state law. Receive report from planning of delineation of changes required by law. Discuss comprehensive changes. Receive update and recommendation from planning board as a result of their December 4th, 2023 meeting as required by law.
Thank you. I think the planning director is here. If you'd like to come forward and start and I would like to ask that we not get ahead of this, keep it simple. We are only talking about the need right now to pass what we have to pass by state law. There's really no choice. and we don't want to be in violation if we don't get it done in a timely manner. There are some other optional things that we can do also, that we can do at a later time. But if you want to proceed, Mr.
So
Director.
just to be clear though, we're having a big presentation next meeting, correct?
Right.
Right.
Public.
Right. Okay. So what are we doing
This is our
tonight?
Public hearing. I'm not sure. I think who put this on? It's just a continuation from the last meeting.
Because this thing consistently keeps falling. I mean, we got updates. The director has given us updates.
Yeah. So
And
is
it
it,
seems like this is a lot of moving parts to this. So
well, there's been a
instead
lot
every-
of council requests of
Yeah.
administration.
and so but it's easier to do
Where
it
it's
this
going.
way. And then based on the meeting last night. and
But
things were
there's going to
passed.
be a public hearing.
Yeah.
So are we going to do it all over again? Do you want to ask questions then? Is it advantageous to wait for the public hearing, or can you give us a summary?
I think he wants to know what happened last night, I assume. right?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Right.
I mean, so,
Yeah.
so
All right, so that's why he's
I
here.
just don't want to have a couple of days, you know.
Yeah, well, that's why he's here. Go ahead. Thank you.
Right. So that's what I think is the main thing to talk about tonight is just what happened at the planning board meeting last night. The planning board, by law, has to make a recommendation to the city council for any changes to zoning. So in this case, at last night's meeting, the main thing is that they recommended to the council to approve the changes to the zoning ordinance subject to the following conditions. So they had some specific changes that they're recommending there. And actually I have a memo to the council that summarizes this here.
Got copies.
You
Yeah,
have copies
the
there?
clerk was ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So the main things in the memo is letters B and C there. B has some recommended changes they had to the maximum density that would be allowed for adaptive reuse, which is when someone basically revitalizes an existing building and adds residential use there. These are changes that we recommended to them. So what we're proposing would comply better with the comprehensive plan. It would just downscale a little bit the maximum density for these adaptive reuse developments. The next thing was just a small, almost typo in a certain section that talked about how the zoning board organizes its leadership, adding the word chairman there in addition to vice chair and secretary. The other thing there was to amend section 19-360-4, remove the clause that says unamplified music or entertainment is permitted by right until 10 p.m. for outdoor dining establishments. The reason being it sort of steps on the city council's toes a little bit as far as, you know, you're the group that would permit entertainment licenses. So it would be better to just remove that altogether and leave it up to the council. The other thing is letter C there, which is a vote 4-2 to recommend amending the schedule of uses, the use table there in section 1998, to keep hotels as prohibited uses in the C2, C3, C4, and C5 districts. That was another change that we recommended that the planning board make to you. And one reason is that a few weeks ago, I'd given you a memo that summarized the changes and which ones were required, which ones were optional. The memo said that there were no uses were added to districts where they weren't already allowed. After that, I realized, oh, the one exception to that is hotels in these districts, where we did recommend that hotels be allowed to these certain districts where they weren't before. So since that contradicted what I put in your memo, I recommended to the planning board just to scrap that idea. So that's the planning board's recommendation and our recommendation. Keep hotels out of those certain zones hotels would still be allowed in the C1 and I1 districts as a permitted use rather than a special use permit. And the other things in the memo is basically just the required findings the planning board has to make, that these changes are consistent with the comprehensive plan and with the purposes of zoning.
Thank you, Director. You just said a word that you said twice, comprehensive plan. So we're talking about the expired plan because we don't have an updated comprehensive plan.
It's not updated. It's not literally expired because it's still but it's very outdated.
It's outdated. Okay. Yeah. Yes, it's outdated. So
some new news with that is we do have an updated draft from the consultant on that we may be ready to present to you over the next month or so.
Thank you.
So there's some progress being made there.
That would be good to go along with this hand in hand.
Yeah. And ideally, that would be done first before you make the zoning changes.
Yeah.
And over the next year, after the comprehensive plan is approved, there will probably be changes to the zoning map that are required to make the zoning map come into compliance with the comprehensive plan. So we'll be back before you over the next year with that also.
Thank you. As this stuff continues to come up, I mean, this stuff has a generational impact on this community. With all the development, obviously, we're in the 21st century and we can't stay in 1980 anymore. But we also don't want to, as we sit here as a body, we don't want to be known as the council that sold the city over development and everything. Because as my councilman friend from Ward 4 talks about townies and that special thing about being townies. So there's a balance here. We cannot get away from being a townie, but we also got to move forward. So it's very important that we get all this information possible, because I don't want to sit here in the history books and say that this council did some wrong things with this.
Any other questions of Director Burns? Will be the public hearing at the next meeting. Do you want to add anything, Director?
No, I don't think so. And I'll be back next meeting with that.
And thank you for, I had asked the director to annotate in the 280-page document, color code what the state changes are and the proposed city level changes. So thank you for that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that was a good idea.
It just made we don't have staff to go through this kind of stuff. So it really helps little things like that. So thank you.
Councilman Rigo.
Is there any more changes coming from the planning board, or what we saw here is it?
No, that's it. That was their recommendation on it. They won't even have another meeting before the hearing.
Thank you.
Solicitor, do you want to add?
I just want to add, the planning department has done a yeoman's job on this. The color coded 250 pages. Again, we gave you the whole zoning ordinance, but as you can, when you go through it, you can see we gave it to you for context, but there's not 250 pages of changes. There are maybe about 40 pages of changes where things are inserted, but you needed the whole code to have a context. I would urge you, however, the public hearing is on what date? The 19th? 19th before this party. To the extent that you have any questions or concerns or need information about it, please contact either my office or the planning department beforehand, so we can have if you want to change something or discuss, an issue, we know it ahead of time. So, because I don't want to be in the position of making changes on the fly that night. Because it's too important of an ordinance. But as you can see, most of the changes as color coded were red, which was required by state law.
I think the bulk of the blue was outdoor seating.
Those are the optional changes.
That was the bulk.
There was only two items. One was lot coverage for educational institutions,
facilities, and the open space.
And then the outdoor seating, which the council has been, at least some members of the council have been requesting outdoor seating for a while. But
and I'll probably reach out to you. I was a little between approved by the zoning and was it unified review? I was a little. Yes, so I'll reach out to you with those questions. Before the meeting.
It's a required change.
Right. I just wasn't sure what the difference was. Like, what's the makeup of the unified review? But I'll send those questions.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Report of totals of what each city department had remaining in their account end of year FY23. and was turned over to the general fund. Received report Vice President Rigo and Councilman Lawson.
Vice President?
Are we at a point where we know now what was left over from FY '23?
Finance Director is coming.
Mm-hmm. That's it. We just wanted to get a rough idea because if there's extra money out there that needs to be reallocated somewhere, we have a rough idea.
Prioritize.
No, I believe at the last meeting, I told you that we were pretty far behind, and I thought this was pushed off to like the first meeting in January, get a number.
Okay.
This is more of a placemaker, you know, just. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Director. Next item.
So you're skipping 3?
Let me,
The opera funding, Malcolm?
right, till, January or?
Well, everything will be all, January, you'll be able to get us all the updating on the opera.
I'll check on the ARPA. I believe that was sent already through, we do it quarterly, so I had it through September.
You got to do some work on dates and from the last meeting.
That's what it was. I know.
Yeah,
Okay, you wanted all the detail on it.
the detail.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will that be okay for January?
That I think I can get. I can get that sooner.
All right, sooner, okay.
Okay.
Okay, is that,
Yes.
You could have said no and you could have had the day off. So, it's your call.
I'm always here.
All right.
Would it make more sense to wait till January?
We'll wait
It's the
till
holidays.
Yeah, we'll wait.
We'll wait till
We're
January.
in a gift giving mood here tonight, so you can wait till
Yeah,
January.
no.
All right, fair enough.
We can wait
Yeah.
for that. We can wait.
Great.
And is there any movement on filling the positions that are open in your department?
Yes, one has already been filled.
Okay.
Last
Was that the transfer? You had one that was already on staff in East Providence?
No, that was, we had hired a purchasing person and, she had come from Warwick. She had 6 years experience in the purchasing department, so she's gonna hit the ground running. And then the other one, we had interviews last week and they're working on the grading scale now. So hopefully that'll be done shortly. HR has been working diligently on. All right, thank you.
thank you, Mr. Director. Next item.
Rumford Motor Inn, 400 Newport Avenue, update on show cause hearing, discuss Council Vice President Rigo, President Rodrick.
Thank you. So I've worked with Council Rigo. This facility is in Ward 1, but it's certainly a citywide issue. And we're prepared tonight to start the process and ask for, we'll have to think about the date because now I know we already have a public hearing on the other matters we just discussed, the zoning changes. But I'm going to ask that we schedule a show cause hearing to hear from, in public hearing, to discuss the license of the Rumford Motor Inn at the next council meeting, which would be the 19th. Now, that would mean two big public hearings at night. So do we want to can't put off the zoning anymore.
The 18th, we need to do a show cause meeting on Monday, the 18th, separate.
We could do a separate night. I want to ask first the solicitor, because coinciding with this was the administration's or the mayor's edict to the management to have at least some kind of a plan or a summary comment within 3 weeks on a change of their operation. Now, I know that 3 weeks has passed. So do you know of anything? Have we heard of
I
anything?
believe a meeting has been scheduled. I don't know what the date of that meeting. It has not occurred yet as far as I know, but there was a meeting scheduled with or at least with the owner representative, someone from the owner's representative.
But
so on the,
We could still We can
Yep.
still move ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Councilman Griff.
There you go. Yep.
Obviously, with that said, I mean, they're two separate situations, talking to the mayor and that route in regards to us with the show cause hearing. What I'd like to tell my fellow council people, having sat through many of these in my past life at the State Board of Elections, not closing down hotels, but please remember that we change our hats from a legislative body to a judicial body. We become basically administrative law judges at this point. So we really got to do everything right. We're not talking about rec centers or rescues or playgrounds. We have to act as judges, which means that all your personal feelings have to be kept to yourself. I know there was a Monday morning quarterback all the time after our council meetings. There's Monday morning quarterbacks, I should say, and we've been criticized here and elsewhere. And it's very important that we assume the role of administrative law judges in this process, and that due process works itself up. If we slip once, it's a big slip up. I don't know if you agree with me on that, Mike, but I think that's the process that we need to follow.
Well, before Solicitor answers that, and if you recall, I was the very first thing I said a couple of meetings ago, or when this first came up, was that we have to adhere to due process. That if a hearing on any matter is conducted incorrectly and due process isn't allowed, then we end up losing and we don't have a permanent fix. So it's very important, Councilman, yes, that we do that. At the same token, we don't want to wait. This is a 30-year problem, or more. And at the very least, I would like management to come in here and speak at a public hearing and at least have this conversation about what they're going to do about this problem. So I would defer, none of us here are attorneys. I would defer to our city solicitor for a suggested path.
Well, I want to give you an update of where we are. So due process is the key thing that we have to worry about there. And part of the due process is notice to the actually license holder. And after the last council meeting, I met with the police chief, and I also spoke with Mr. Connolly, the assistant solicitor, and we talked about the best way to go forward. We decided that Mr. Connolly will actually be advising you as the council members, and I will be presenting the case on behalf of the city, but he will be advising you as the council. One of the things that we have to do, and we are in the process of doing, is we agreed that we wanted to go back at least 3 years and get all the accident reports, police reports, whatever, from that facility for the last 3 years. I've asked the police department for that. That will form the basis of our charges, depending on what those look like. I haven't gotten that yet. It's not, I'm not blaming the police department. They've been very busy with other stuff, but we're waiting for that so that we can put together a formal letter indicating that on such and such a date, this will be your hearing. And these are the incidents that result of the show cause that we're concerned about. I have spoken with the applicant's attorney. They do have an attorney. I'd let them know that while we had hoped to get something in December, it's probably looking honestly to be January. Again, that letter hasn't got out yet. We haven't got the police reports yet. And Mr. Connolly and I believe that we really can't go back more than 3 years, but that 3 years is probably the limit that we can go back to. So we're waiting for that. So I know I know the council is, and I hear you, but we want to just make sure we do it right. And we are working on it, and we will be getting the letter out by this month when we get the police reports, and then we'll pick a date. I also believe that there might be a scheduling issue with the owner for the month of December, but who has a right to attend.
I believe there was a police and fire presence there again tonight.
So we can call an emergency.
If there was yes. If something really terrible happens, yes.
And
so what
I feel bad for, I have sympathy as far as being an owner of a business and him owning a business, but We also got to remember the 5,000 people in that little circle neighborhood too. They count. So this, I don't want this can to be kicked because then be January and we'll have a blizzard or something like that. But
So what I suggest to us is that, similar to, I think what we voted on actually was that at the last meeting was that the solicitor move forward. The quote, I think, was as soon as possible. That could be
Well,
next week, which it won't be, or it could be January, you know, that we work on scheduling the hearing, knowing that in the meantime, which I doubt, but if the owners came forward before that and said, we have a new plan, we're selling, or we're going to make it an Eskimo ice cream business or something, then that might put off the hearing, you know.
not necessarily. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Right. So it sounds like, well, the license to run a motel would be right. So it sounds like December 19th is not advisable for a hearing. Also knowing, as was brought up, that should an emergency develop any day for going forward, we can move in immediately. And
Right, and that would be a emergency hearing with a temporary solution. Wouldn't be a permanent. Would be a
temporary, right? And we would do that. So unless anyone has a better path forward, I think this is the way to go. We, to the general public, we are moving as soon as practicable. There are laws. There is due process. Yes, serious events have already happened. So some might say, well, why don't we consider those emergencies? Well, so we have to deal with going forward. And
No, we're on track. We asked the solicitor to guide us through this legally, make sure we're dotting our i's, crossing our t's. So we know things work slowly, but
so, Mike, if you would just keep in touch with me, and I'll let the council know if anything develops.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments? If not, thank you. Next item.
Mayor Communications appointment requiring council approval. Jonathan Jacobs, Zoning Board of Review.
make a motion to approve.
second,
Motion by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Councilman Fogarty and Councilman Rigo for approval. Jonathan Jacobs, Zoning Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item, the claims will have to wait till we go over to executive session.
And
Councilman Lawson, do you have anything to add from the school committee?
At this point, no.
Thank you.
No.
Madam Clerk, continue.
an ordinance of the Council of the City of East Providence amending ordinance chapter 894, appropriating up to $50,000 for a citywide utility ARPA project. Sponsor Councilwoman Souza.
Can we table this? I got a question why she's putting the Arts Council running this. I thought her and I were, and they were going to assist. So,
Sure, the item will,
and with her not here, I'd rather discuss it with her.
the item will be tabled. Next.
like your drones.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to purchase salt applicators, ice master, and gas pump and application tank to be added to the Department of Public Works Highway Division trucks. Sponsor Council President Rodrick.
This is an item as we talk about drainage problems. We have to start thinking about snow removal in the city, and this has already been, funding has been allocated through capital. DPW is requesting this. We know other than drainage problems, we all get calls and complaints about snow plowing, although I think city does a pretty good job considering
Have we had to plow in the last few years?
we haven't had yet too much, so this is keeping up. Does anyone have any questions of the director who's here? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to pass.
Motion by Councilman Fogarty
Second.
to pass, seconded by Councilman Lawson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a change order for additional material required for the pole lights at Riverside Middle School. Sponsor Council President Rodrick and Councilman Lawson.
Councilman, I'll defer to you.
I've let the administration know my feeling, but I will make a motion that we approve this to get this field finally finished.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Councilman Fogarty. And any other discussion, the council?
I do have one question.
Yes.
This is under 50,000. Why is it before us? Is there a specific reason why the council needs to sign off on this in the fence? I'm voting for it. I just,
Right, I think because we
wondering.
had already,
Contract.
We already
total is over
contracted.
50,000. So this is
okay,
because it's a change order on the original contract that was over 50.
okay.
Requires the council to approve it.
And what about the fence?
Well, the fence has the fencing for this project.
that's another.
No, but the next one's for,
Well, there's some additional stipulations there that we're asking for that the council.
okay. All right, so I made a motion that we approve the funding for, and so people understand, the back of Riverside Middle School, my neighborhood, it's a very high water table. And when they started digging to put in the post, they didn't realize how much water, and they couldn't pump it out. So they got to get the special foundation things to hold up the light poles. So that's the reason why they need more money.
Correct. And in every project, we see change orders. The Kent Heights landfill, seems to be the way of the economy these days. Almost nothing is as it originally comes in. Sometimes it comes in less. But for the most part, like anybody putting an addition on your house, there's always a call from the contractor. I need a few more dollars. So we can't let it sit there. We got to get it done right. We had the motion in second. Did you get that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, 4-0. Thank you. Next item.
Resolution allocating funds to replace the fence on city property abutting Glen Life Field. Sponsor, Council Vice President Rigo.
Council Vice President.
Thank you. This has been before us a couple of times. We had a discussion at the last meeting. A couple of the neighbors have come forward since this time. There's been 17 pieces of fencing that is damaged. There was a survey done and the fence falls on city property. I will move passage moving forward that we allocate and we award to bid to the lowest bidder with the wood fence, not using the metal fencing, but a nice chain link fence. Thank you. And we move forward with this program. And I know reading here in regards to with it being determined to be on city property, it would almost mean that the city would be consistently responsible for this fence because it's either on city property or if it was on their property and the city put the fence up originally, that means it would be an easement to their property. So either way, the city is held responsible.
So that's a motion.
So I'm a little confused. Yeah, this is a resolution to allocate funds, but it has no dollar amount, no place where the money's coming from.
We have the bids and it's coming out of the Glen Line. There's money in the capital fund for
Shouldn't it
Glen
be
Line
in the
Field.
resolution so we know?
It is.
Am I missing it?
Thought it was in the resolution.
Yeah.
It's just there's already money in that account. It's just designating some of that money.
And the reason you want the council to sign off is because
of the additional conditions of the survey being done and the other conditions that were placed on the resolution.
Yeah, number 2 talks about it coming out of Glen Line Fund as Madam Clerk talked about it, and as well as the authorization of the lowest quote there. And again, we were talking about that the survey was done and
the vendor is going to do all the labor. This is
correct.
city
Yeah.
labor.
I'm voting for. I
Yeah.
still don't.
That's the reason.
why it's
Yeah.
before us, but yeah.
Let's do it. And it's gonna be the wooden fence, obviously.
Yeah.
We talked about it, yep. Wood picket fence.
Other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Guys have that 4-0. Thank you. Next item.
Are you tabling?
Yeah, 5 was tabled, wasn't it?
What
5
is
was
it?
tabled already, I believe.
5 was,
Five
No, you
is,
didn't. I don't think you formally did it. I don't-
no, Mr.
yes, 5 will be tabled. We're all set. We can table that,
Executive.
without any objection. No.
He doesn't have to read it.
No, we're all
Okay.
And we did 6. We have to go into executive.
You don't have to. I mean, it's all the claims have been, if you want to just approve the claims as submitted, they're all been recommended to be paid.
Right, there
If you wanna
isn't-
Discuss them.
It's a good
Sounds
point.
good to me.
There's no need to go into executive.
I went through them. I have no problem
I saw
approving any of them.
Too, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to, we
have
gotta
to
go one by one?
You can just make a motion to approve all the claims that are on the executive session docket.
I make a motion that we approve all the claims on the executive session docket.
Motion by Councilman Lawson. Seconded by Councilman Fogarty to approve all the claims that are on the executive session docket. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll on that?
Councilman Fogarty.
Aye.
Councilman Lawson.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rigo.
Aye.
President Rodrick.
Aye,
Motion to adjourn, Mr. President?
you've got it. The ayes have it 4-0. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.